This was going to be just a button pusher series. It seems to me that, you know, since I didn't get a video camera until I was actually in the CNC, and most of my videos are in regards to CNC, people tend to think that all I know how to do is CNC, or that all I study is CNC, or you know, things like that, which is entirely false. I've been machining for 3 years or so now. I've done a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of machining in that time. So I figured I'd show you guys some of the books that I read. Some of them I haven't read yet. Some of them get looked at every single day. I usually keep a stack of books in the restroom, keep a stack of books in my car, keep a stack of books in the shop, and I usually keep a book somewhere to grab to take in the wife's car, so I can do my studying or reading. I mean, a lot of life is studying, right? I mean, that's what you do. So we'll start with the books that are in the bathroom on a regular basis. We got an advanced die making book. You know, it's just die making. All about making all shapes and sizes of dies, right? We got technical metals. This book here is cool as hell because it's all about some old school stuff. Hand forming, spinning, pattern making, you know, a lot of the techniques that the old plasma cutter and things like that have made completely obsolete. But you know, it's got stuff in here all about turning between centers and reading your basic your tools and stuff. But then it's just got some old school stuff, you know. Teaches you how to, you know, make all these different joints and whatnot, and lay out your patterns and all of that stuff for sheet metal work, how to do metal spinning and things like that. I read this one a lot. This is the old blueprint reading book. It's really a workbook. We had a whole bunch of these stacked up at school. So these you know, it basically gives you a little instruction. It'll explain, you know, this section here is all in castings, fillets, clearance holes, things of that nature. So to give you some instruction. And then at the end of that, you know, like a typical school book, it asks you questions, and you go through and you get to answer the questions if you want. You know, this one sits by the toilet, so every time I go in, I find that you learn a ton if you just go into a situation, you know, instead of trying to read up everything there is to know about geometric dimension and tolerance and GD&T. Instead of trying to learn everything, just walk in, flip to a random page, allowances. Okay, let's read this little piece right here on allowances. And then you're done taking your crap and you leave, and you'll probably remember that little bit that you just read on allowances, because you're not in there trying to learn everything there is to know about GD&T. I mean, for God's sakes, if you look at a blueprint that's got something on it, I mean, hell, if it's got MMC on it and you don't know what MMC is, well, Google. You see what I'm saying? Or if you're smart, you'll have you some of these books that you keep handy, or even me. Let me see if I got them. This is how I do a lot of studying. I took down everything that my first teacher taught us about reading blueprints, you know, all the signs and symbols. And I put all of these on cards. I did the same thing with my decimal points, because my first teacher told us we need to learn our decimal points. You know, half inch is 0.5, we need to know that, right? So he told everyone in the class we need to make sure we do our decimal points. This was 3 years ago. So I did the same thing. I went through and I wrote down all of that. Now I'm not going to sit here and act like I know all of it, because I don't remember all of it, but the more I use it, the more it sinks into my head, right? This book here I don't read very much. about machining hard materials. And I got it in there just for a backup, so I don't feel like looking at anything else. I can crack that one open, right? And I also got some books in there on CAD and CAM. Okay. Jigs and fixtures. As one might expect, it's all about making jigs and fixtures. Yes, sirree. What a freaking concept, right? Now, I haven't gotten into reading this one that much. This is more of a resource book to me. If I just need an idea, I'll go grab this. You know, a man can only read and absorb so much stuff at a given time, right? And, you know, I've only had a very short window messing with the CNC, so I've dived 100% into the CNC, with the exception of the things that I might need to know to do that job, like geometric dimension and tolerance and things like that. You know, so when I need an idea for fixturing or a setup or something, then I might come look at this book right here. Metallurgy, another one, not so much. You know, we had to do a lot of this in the tool and U, and you know, I really don't think that it needed to be in there. You know, me, I've been around it longer than any of the other students that are in the class. But for a guy who's never seen a lathe before in his life, to set him down in front of a computer and tell him he needs to learn about metal structures and, you know, what happens to the grains when you bend something versus when you cut it or machine it or whatnot, or, you know, why a pressed product is going to have strength where a machined product wouldn't have strength, which is all in the grain structure. You know, things like that, that's not stuff that a guy who's never even touched a lathe needs to even concern himself with, right? But I do have this here in case I need to go back to it. I don't know, I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I compile resources and I find answers typically for myself. Usually I'm answering more questions than I ask. If I'm asking a question, I text my first teacher or ask my current teacher, or, you know, I have a select group of people that I try to direct those questions to. You know, if I need a TIG welding question, I got another student in the class, or I'll ask my neighbor who's been a TIG welder for, you know, well, since they were calling it heliarc welding. But, you know, instead of just going on to some Facebook group or something like that and asking a random question to a bunch of guys who could have an excellent answer or could just be talking out the side of their neck, right? So the next one, grinding technologies, same thing, just a book about grinding. Haven't done much reading on it. I've run a surface grinder a few times. I exploded the wheel on it first time I ever used it, so I gained a lot of respect for them at that point. So I approach my surface grinding with a little bit of pussyfoot. I approach my machining pretty hard on, but when it comes to grinding, I pussyfoot a little bit, because when things go south with the grinder, it goes south extremely fast. Things just explode, parts missing, vices gone, whatever the case might be. In my case, it wasn't quite that bad, but I've seen vices come slap off the table. So it's one of those situations you really need to respect. And I approach my grinding after watching a YouTube video from Suburban Tools. The old man was grinding, and you know, awesome video, and he just hogged it at 10,000. So I said, well, surely what little bit I'm going to take is not much. Well, all grinders are not created the same. Turning Technologies. This is another one of those books that I use for when I need a reference. You know, if I'm looking for some kind of an idea or something in regards to turning, I'll come and grab this book. As you can see there, it's got a form tool. You know, just gives you all kinds of good ideas, good tips, things of that nature. You know, I'm real big on finding your answer, right? I mean, I'm real big on you doing the work. I mean, I'm there to help you, other people are there to help you, people are there to help me, but you reserve those instances for when you just can't find the answer, right? At least that's the way I approach the situation. Math, now, I like to keep books like this, because these books, these are really like workbooks, and I don't work them, so to speak, excuse me. But it gives you excellent examples of how you're going to use trigonometry. You know, you've got a hole off in space over here, just in some random location, and you don't have any location to it to get you there. Oftentimes, you can use imaginary triangles from here to there, from here to there, to find that location. You know what I'm saying? And books like this will really open your eyes to some of the things. Plus, if you need help reading scales and things like that, you can't beat these books. The last, I don't normally talk about stuff like this, but the last math class I ever passed was 5th grade. So I came into this with an exceptional handicap. Now, I did get my GED, but I done that on my own, and without going to classes and things of that nature. And then, but when I signed up for school, the first day of class, our teacher, Roger Boland, he said we need to learn trigonometry. He kept stressing the point that trig was important, but he wasn't going to teach it until near the end of the time he was going to be there. So I went out and bought me a trigonometry book. So by the time we got there, I had a good handle on it. And I tell you that because if you've got a handicap, you need to know your handicap, and you need to find workarounds for your handicap. In my case, it's math. Like I said, I was a dumbass when I was a kid, and I made dumbass choices in life, and they handicapped myself. So instead of blaming other people, I just try to find a solution for my own handicaps, right? So more blueprint reading for machinists. I can't stress this stuff enough. If you're trying to get into the industry, you really need to wrap your brain around some of this stuff. And I'm not one to sit here and say I know all this crap, because I certainly don't. But one thing that my first teacher drilled into us is you don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find everything. You don't need to look at a map. I need to know the pitch of this thread. Knowing the math and being able to do it just off the top of your head is great, and most guys are going to learn that stuff over time. But you don't need, don't make yourself feel bad because you don't know it. Write the stuff down in your little book. I've got a workbook that's got, chord, all that stuff written out with my own math problem, so I can work that problem first, make sure I get the same answer, and then once I get that answer, I can move on to the problem that I really need to work. That way because you need to know your own weakness. Okay. You guys don't like that, but that's old CNC lathe manual, right? Here's the Machining Fundamentals. This is the first book that we had to do in school. And the reason why I like books is I'm a highlighter, right? I go through and I highlight the hell out of my books when I'm reading. Everything that to me is pertinent information, I highlight. And I do this because it makes me read more, and it's easier to identify what I'm looking for. This is all on GD&T. I identify what I'm looking for when it comes time to, because the key points are highlighted. So if I'm looking for, what the hell does this symbol mean, I could come in here and I know, boom, these are the key points. That's where I need to go to read. You see? Plus, I read it once, then I read it again as I'm highlighting it. Then before we take the test, I go back through my notes and reread everything that I've highlighted. And I do that in, just everything. Even stuff as simple as hacksaw and things like that. I've been using a hacksaw since I was since I was a freaking little kid, right? But I mean, when you find a good idea, damn it, you you take it. Doesn't matter whether you should have known that crap 20 freaking years ago or not. You know what I'm saying? You take it when it's there. There's another CNC book now. Any of you guys who are looking to get into the industry, you'd be a damn fool to discount CNC. Period. There's no other conversation to be had on that subject. And anybody who promotes somebody trying to get into this industry and not learning CNC, you're doing them a huge disservice. Huge disservice. Okay? I ain't saying you need to be a CNC machinist, but I'm saying if you're not trying to learn CNC, it's going to be a real hard road for you to go. I mean, manual machining, it's awesome, and if I could find a shop that just let me run manual machines, man, I'd be cool running manual machines. I really don't mind. But you know, I love that's therapy to me, to be turning dials and things like that. CNC is, I don't know, man. CNC is amazing on the level that it's amazing on. I mean, when you need to make a bunch of parts, it's amazing. But as far as therapy and skill set and play, well, I mean, CNC is a different skill set altogether. You have to know how to machine a part to be CNC machinist. There's no button pushing to it. God damn it, I would love to see one just push a green button and make something. Just go do it for me. Show me how it's done, right? But it's a different skill set. But you still have to know. I mean, damn, if you don't know that you have to drill the hole to tap drill size before you tap it, well, first of all, you're going to break the tap. And second of all, if you don't know your speeds and feeds, you're going to break the drill. Bottom frickin' line. If you don't understand how much depth of cut and step over you can take with a tool, what feeds and what speeds you need to be running per the material that you're running, and you can't figure this crap out, well, you're breaking stuff. You're getting bad finishes. You're just messing stuff up. So you need to know how to make a part, so don't discount CNC. And if you're going to get into the trade, buy this damn book right here. And I asked my wife to get me his macro book because I want to learn macros. Okay? So I hope she got it for me for Christmas. But we'll see. You know, who asked for educational books for Christmas, right? But again, you know, this is all highlighted because that's just how I get down, right? Now this book usually stays, this is kind of the floater. It goes to school with me, in the car with me, with my wife's car a lot of times with me, things like that. These two books here stay in the in my work truck. GD&T book. Just a simple little workbook. It gives you all, I mean, not really a workbook, but yeah, it kind of dumbs it down. You know, sometimes if you're a dummy, you need to read stuff that's written for dummies. That's why I started doing the CNC stuff, because I know a lot of guys are intimidated by it. I was one. When I first started the class, I didn't want to know anything about CNC. You know, the teacher kept trying to tell me, man, CNC is where it's at, right? And I just wanted to learn it for a pure hobby, you know, to just piddle around in my garage with, right? And then it took a hold of me. Whatever. And just to know I'm keeping the truck. Practical problems in mathematics. This book is freaking cool because it's all the stuff, you know, it's all kinds of problems just for, you know, three-wire method, things of that nature. They've got an app for that, right? I got it on my phone. I do. I got it. I got it on my phone, and I use that. Don't get me wrong. I calculate the feeds and speeds with it and all that other stuff. I've even got apps on my computer for it, and I use those apps. You know, when I'm trying to tap a hole, I need to link my RPM with my feed rate, right? Because that's the only way you're going to tap a hole on a CNC. So, you know, and I can generate that right there in my CAM program. Then I also check it against G-Wizard or HSM Advisor. And I don't trust either of them either, so then I also go to my phone. And then I get three opinions, essentially, is what I'm doing. And all three of them are agreeing with each other, because you could have trusted any of them. But all three of them are agreeing with each other, and there you go. And then my last two, I ain't been able to afford a machinery's handbook, but I did scrounge up the money for the old pocket companion, right? Which it gives you most of the essential stuff that you need. Then we got the American Machinist Handbook. I guess you could say it's like the Machinist Handbook. I'm not sure how old this is. January 1940. But this has got a lot of old stuff you just don't. See, I got cards in here where I was pitched for helical gears, and I was trying to make a gear, and I realized I didn't need all that to make the gear. At any rate, it doesn't matter. It's how you learn, right? But it's got all kinds of neat stuff in here. Feeds and speeds, of course. Cam angles. Cutter clearance angles. Grades and markings on your grinding wheels. Screw machine tools. Clearance, relief angles, bolts, nuts, flatheads, all your screws, taper, plug gauges, dovetails, shop drawings, room standards, involute splines, free cutting steels, just some of everything, a bunch of math in the back. Just a lot of stuff in here you just don't find anymore. And for, especially for home shop machinists, you don't, a lot of times you can't afford to have the latest, greatest crap out there. So you wind up with 1959 Bridgeports and little import lathes, or even old antiquated lathes and running taper attachments. CNC is great and all, but to have everything CNC, I mean, it's possible you can CNC all your manual machines, I reckon, but that's neither here nor there. Books like these are good for home shop guys, not necessarily guys who are strictly just trying to learn CNC, but guys who are actually going to be turning handles anywhere in their life, be it in the shop or at home, because if you need to broach a keyway, which I got pictures of me doing, on a stalled lathe with a hand ground high-speed steel tool, this would be the kind of book that might have some information on something like that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas ones today would probably just tell you to go buy a broach set or something like that, which isn't always feasible. In my case, we had a broach set. We just didn't happen to have the right size broach. I even turned down the spacer and everything else because we didn't have any of that. But then we didn't have the right broach. So I ran a smaller broach through it and threw it into the lathe and hand ground a piece of high-speed steel and finished cleaning up both sides of it to make it the right size. Okay, so I think we've gone over most of the books that I really use. So now let's